Remember Sarah, the woman who rejected 50 good men, who spent her 20s and 30s building a career and maintaining impossible standards, who hit 42, alone and devastated, finally realizing the consequences of her choices. I wish I could tell you her story got better, that she found happiness, that she learned from her mistakes and made peace with her situation. She didn't. Sarah's 52 now. 10 years have passed since she sat in my office crying about those 50 rejected men. 10 years since she realized her fertility window had closed. 10 years since she understood that the men she wanted didn't want her back. And brother, those 10 years didn't bring wisdom. They brought bitterness. Deep, corrosive bitterness that's consumed everything good that was left in her. She's not just alone anymore. She's bitter, angry, resentful. And she's blaming everyone except the person who made every single decision that led her here. Let me show you what happens when the crisis at 42 becomes permanent reality at 52. After our first session, Sarah tried. I'll give her that. She lowered her standards. She joined more dating apps. She said yes to men she would have rejected 5 years earlier. But here's what happens when you wait until 42 to course correct. The market has already moved on. At 43, she dated a divorced man with 2 kids. He was kind but not exciting, financially stable but not wealthy, good enough but not perfect. She stayed with him for 6 months trying to make herself settle. She couldn't do it. She broke it off. She still believed someone better would come along. Nobody did. At 45, she tried therapy, went twice a week for 2 years, talked about her childhood, her relationship patterns, her fear of vulnerability. She learned the language of healing but never actually healed. At 47, she stopped trying to date seriously. The rejection rate was too high. The matches were too few. The men who were interested weren't men she could respect. So she convinced herself she was choosing to be single, that she was happy alone. She wasn't. At 49, she started posting bitter content on social media, memes about useless men, articles about the patriarchy, quotes about being a strong, independent woman who doesn't need anyone. The more she posted, the lonelier she became. By 50, her friend group had shrunk to 2 other single women who shared her bitterness. They'd meet for wine and complain about men, society, and younger women. These weren't friendships. These were support groups for failure, where everyone validated each other's victimhood. Now, at 52, Sarah is permanently bitter. It's not a phase anymore. It's her identity. It's who she is. And she's completely convinced that none of this is her fault. Here's where Sarah's story gets really dark, because at 52, after a decade of worsening isolation, she's constructed an elaborate narrative where she's the victim of everything except her own choices. She blames men. Men my age only want younger women. They can't handle a successful woman. They're intimidated by my independence. Rather, she's been saying this for 10 years. It was a lie at 42. It's still a lie at 52. Men aren't intimidated. Men aren't shallow. Men are responding rationally to market dynamics and biological drives that haven't changed in 100,000 years. She blames society. I was told I could have it all. I was told to focus on my career. I was told I had time. And yes, society did tell her those things. But thousands of people also told her the opposite. She just didn't want to hear it. She called them sexist, outdated, patriarchal. She chose which voices to listen to. That's still her choice. She blames feminism. This one's newer. At 52, she's starting to realize that the feminist messaging she embraced in her 20s and 30s led her exactly here. But she blames the ideology, not her blind acceptance of it. She blames her parents for not teaching her about biological clocks, for pushing her toward career success, for not warning her that time was limited. She blames the men she rejected. Michael for being too boring, David for not making enough money, James for wanting kids too soon. She blames them for moving on instead of waiting for her to be ready. She even blames the women who married those men. She calls them basic, says they settled, says they gave up their potential to become housewives. The one person she never blames, herself. The one person who made every single decision in her life, never responsible. That's what bitterness does. It removes all personal accountability and replaces it with universal victimhood. At 52, Sarah's social circle has collapsed almost completely. Her married friends with kids stopped inviting her years ago. She was too negative at gatherings, too bitter around happy couples, too uncomfortable around children. She made family events heavy and awkward. They tried, they really did. But you can only listen to someone complain about men and society so many times before you stop calling. Now her social life consists of 2 other single women in their 50s. They meet every other week for wine and validation. They tell each other they're better off alone, that married women are trapped, that having kids is overrated. It's not friendship, it's collective coping. 3 women who made the same mistakes, reinforcing each other's delusions so none of them have to face the truth. Work relationships are superficial. Sarah's colleagues are younger now. They're getting married, having babies, buying homes, everything she doesn't have. She can't connect with their experiences. She can't be genuinely happy for them. So she keeps work interactions professional and distant. She eats lunch alone, leaves immediately at 5 p.m, declines social invitations. She has no romantic prospects. The last man who showed interest was 3 years ago. He was 59, divorced, out of shape, and financially struggling. She rejected him. She still had standards then. Nobody's approached her since. Her family interactions are strained. Her younger sister has 3 kids and a stable marriage. Family gatherings are painful reminders of what Sarah doesn't have. She attends holidays out of obligation, but leaves early. She spends most evenings alone, watching Netflix, scrolling social media, seeing the lives of people who made different choices. The men she rejected with their families. Her college friends with grandchildren. She tells herself she's happy, that she's content with her independence. The posts about being a strong, independent woman tell a different story. Nobody who's genuinely happy has to convince themselves this hard. Sarah still checks dating apps occasionally, not seriously, just to see if anything's changed. It hasn't. At 52, her dating pool is almost non-existent. The men she wants successful, fit, established are dating women in their 30s and 40s. They swipe past her profile without a second look. The men who show interest are men she can't respect. Men significantly older. Men with serious health issues. Men with failed finances. Men with personality problems that kept them single into their 60s. She gets maybe 2 matches per month. Both are usually mistakes, or men casting a wide net without looking at her age. When she does match, conversations die quickly. She's bitter. They can sense it. Even over text, the resentment seeps through. She tried lying about her age once, put 46 instead of 52, got more matches. But when she met them in person, the disappointment on their faces was crushing. Nobody called back. Now she doesn't lie. But she also doesn't really try. She's given up without admitting she's given up. She tells herself the dating pool is just terrible, that online dating doesn't work, that modern men are trash. The reality? At 52, with no kids, career-focused, bitter energy and high standards, she's simply not what any man wants. Not the men she wants. Not even the men she'd settle for. The sexual marketplace is brutal at every age. But at 52, for a woman who spent her prime years rejecting good men, it's not just brutal. It's over. She knows this. Deep down, she knows. But admitting it means admitting that every choice she made in her 20s and 30s was wrong, that she destroyed her own future. So she doesn't admit it. She just gets more bitter. Mid-video cite, if you know a woman in her 30s or early 40s heading down this path, share this video with her. It might be the wake-up call that saves her from becoming the bitter 52-year-old who blames everyone but herself. Drop a comment. Have you watched someone become bitter like this? What patterns did you see? Keep watching. At 52, bitterness isn't something Sarah experiences anymore. It's who she is. It's her personality, her default state, her identity. She's bitter about younger women. She calls them pick-mes and handmaidens. Says they're setting women back. Really, she's just jealous that they have what she threw away. She's bitter about couples. She can't watch romantic movies, can't attend weddings without drinking heavily, can't see happy couples in public without feeling anger. She's bitter about her career. After spending 30 years building it, she's realized it doesn't love her back. It gave her money and status, but not meaning or connection. And she can't admit that, because it means everything she sacrificed was for nothing. She's bitter about her body. Aging happened. The beauty that gave her options at 25 is gone. No amount of skincare or Botox can restore what time took away. She looks in the mirror. She looks in the mirror and sees a stranger. She doesn't recognize herself. She's bitter about biology. She hates that fertility windows are real, that men's preferences haven't evolved, that the rules she wanted to ignore actually mattered. She posts bitter content constantly. Her social media is a stream of complaints about men, society, patriarchy, younger women, married people, parents. She's become the bitter old woman that younger women look at and think, I never want to become that. But younger women are walking her exact path, making her exact mistakes. They just don't see it yet. And they come war, they pay believer. Sometimes in our sessions, Sarah's defenses crack. The bitterness fades for a moment and what's underneath comes through. Pure, crushing regret. She thinks about Michael, the boring engineer she rejected at 24. He'd be 52 now. They could have had 28 years together. Could have raised kids who'd be adults now. Could have built a life. She stalked his Facebook once. He looks happy. His kids are in college. His wife posts anniversary tributes. They take family vacations. They have grandkids coming soon. That could have been her life. She said no because he was boring. She thinks about the 50 men in her journal. Not all of them would have worked out, but some of them. Some of them were genuinely good men who would have built solid lives with her. She rejected them all, for superficial reasons, for career ambitions, for perfect that never came. The regret is physical. She describes it as a weight, a constant ache, a hole that nothing fills. Therapy doesn't fix it, wine doesn't numb it, social media doesn't distract from it, work doesn't replace it, because this isn't a problem that can be solved. It's a consequence that has to be lived with. Every day, for the rest of her life. She's 52, no kids, no partner, no family of her own, just a career that's winding down, a condo that's empty, and decades of loneliness ahead. The regret is permanent, the consequences are permanent, the choices can't be unmade, and she knows it. Here's why I'm telling you Sarah's story at 52, not just at 42, because the crisis at 42 becomes permanent reality at 52. The panic dating at 40 becomes bitter acceptance at 50. The hope that maybe things will work out becomes certainty that they won't. If you're a woman in your 30s watching this, Sarah's story is your future if you keep walking her path. Not maybe. Definitely. If you're rejecting good men for superficial reasons, you're Sarah at 28. If you're prioritizing career over relationships, you're Sarah at 32. If you're believing you have unlimited time, you're Sarah at 35. And if you're 40 now, wondering why dating feels impossible, you're Sarah at 42. 10 years from bitter 52 unless you change everything immediately. The path leads where it leads. Biology doesn't negotiate. Markets don't care about fairness. And time doesn't wait for you to be ready. Sarah at 25 had everything. Sarah at 52 has nothing. Same person, different choices, permanent consequences. Sarah rejected 50 good men in her 20s and 30s, believing better options would always appear. They didn't. She spent her peak fertility years building a career, believing biology was negotiable. It wasn't. She maintained high standards as her market value declined, believing men would adapt to her timeline. They didn't. She hit 42 in crisis, realizing her mistakes, but she didn't truly course correct. She tried half-heartedly and gave up when it was hard. Now at 52, she's permanently bitter, blaming everyone but herself, isolated socially, invisible romantically, filled with regret she can't fix. The men she rejected built families with other women. The life she wanted was given to women who said yes, the future she assumed she'd have never materialized. She has a career, a condo, and LinkedIn profile. She doesn't have love, family, or legacy. She doesn't have connection, meaning, or purpose beyond work. She's not even halfway through her life. She has 30, 40 more years of this ahead of her. Alone. Bitter. Regretful. That's not empowerment. That's tragedy in slow motion. Look, Sarah's story is brutal, but it's necessary because millions of women are walking this exact path. They're making her exact mistakes, they're believing her exact lies, and they're heading toward her exact future. If you're young, if you're 25, 30, 35, you can still change direction. You can still find a good man. You can still build a family. You can still avoid becoming the bitter 52-year-old who blames the world for choices only she made. But you have to act now. Not eventually, now. Find a good man, build with him. Start a family while biology allows it. Don't reject good for perfect. Don't prioritize career over family. Don't believe you have unlimited time, because you don't. And the proof is sitting in counseling offices everywhere. 52-year-old women crying about the 50 men they rejected, the families they could have had, the lives they threw away. Don't become Sarah at 52. The path leads where it leads, and nobody's coming to save you from your own choices. Drop a comment. Do you know a bitter older woman like this? What patterns have you noticed? And if you're young enough to avoid this fate, what's stopping you from course correcting now? Share this with someone walking Sarah's path. It might be the only warning they get before it's too late. Biology is real, consequences are real. And bitterness at 52 is the price of delusion at 25. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.